We are 10 games into the 2024-2025 Islanders season, and the team is obviously struggling offensively. We're going to talk a little bit about Mathew Barzal, what's going on with him, what's happening with the defense, and a whole lot more coming up on today's Locked On Islanders podcast.
Your Locked On Islanders, your daily podcast on the New York Islanders. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome, everybody, to the Friday edition of the Locked On Islanders podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I want to thank everyone who makes Locked On Islanders your first listen every day. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts so you get new episodes as soon as they drop. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. You can get the season started with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet, and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets. If you win that first $5 bet, visit FanDuel.com to get started. We have a lot to discuss, and look, we all know how this team is struggling right now. 21 goals in 10 games. Barely 2 goals a game. Power play, near the bottom of the league right now, 29th with just 12.9%. Penalty kill, 31st in the league out of 32 teams, 62.5%. And every day, as you know, we have discussed a lot of the aspects of this team, why they are struggling. You've heard us discuss the fact that the fourth line absolutely has not produced. Matt Martin, no goals, no points in 2 games. Julien Gauthier, nothing in 1 game. Kyle McLean, no points in 10 games. Pierre Engvall, no points in 2 games. Oliver Wahlstrom, no points in 6 games. Liam Foudy, no points in 2 games. I think you get the idea. Casey Cizikas, 1 assist in 10 games. I mean, that's just your fourth line guys. But again, you don't expect the fourth line to necessarily be putting up lots of points. That's not their main job description. But what about the top line? For most of the season, the top line is Bo Horvat, Mathew Barzal. Originally, it was Anthony Duclair. He's gone down with the injury since then. Simon Holmstrom not getting it done. Whether we'll see Maxim Siplikov or some other player, that remains to be seen. But right now, the top line, Bo Horvat, well, he has 5 points in 10 games, 3 goals, 2 assists. And Mathew Barzal has 5 points in 10 games, 2 goals, and 3 assists. The difference is Barzal has 2 goals, 1 on the power play, 1 on the empty net. And he has 2 of his 3 assists on the power play. 5 on 5. Mathew Barzal has exactly 0 goals and 1 point in 10 games. That is just not going to get the job done. Now, I'm not happy that the fourth line isn't producing. But no 5-on-5 points for Mathew Barzal this season. Can't have that. Cannot have that from a guy who is on your top line and who absolutely needs to get straightened out because, the old cliche, and you usually mention this in the playoffs, but the old cliche is your best players, if you want to win consistently, your best players have to be your best players. And I could talk to you all day and all night about, the fourth line doesn't have any goals yet this year. And they don't. But, in 10 games, what do you expect? 3 goals, 4 goals tops from the fourth line? Mathew Barzal, after a point a game, 80 points a year ago, 5 points in 10 games. That's a 41-point pace. No points, 5-on-5. Patrick Waugh looking for answers. And, here's the thing that is even more frustrating. You look at who the Islanders have played so far. They're not losing to elite goalies. No offense to Elvis Merzlikins, because he's not a bad goalie, but would you place him in the top 10 in the NHL? Top 15? Probably not. When they faced the Florida Panthers, they didn't see Sergei Bobrovsky. They saw the backup, Spencer Knight. Again, no offense to Spencer Knight. He's a good enough goalie, but not one of the best. Against the Devils, which is a game they won, they faced the backup, Jake Allen. Not only are the Islanders kind of struggling here, but they're doing it against second-string goalies. They were shut out by Alex Lyon of Detroit. Again, not a bad goalie, but not an elite goalie either. So offensively, this team is struggling, and they're doing it facing a lot of teams' backup goalies. And I think right now, part of the problem, getting back to Mathew Barzal, is that he's trying to do too much. And I think that urgency, that squeezing of the stick, got even more intense after Anthony Duclair got hurt. The Islanders' top line with Duclair as a part of it had begun to build a little bit of chemistry. They were showing some promise. And when Duclair went down, all of a sudden, it was like all bets are off. Barzy probably thought to himself, I've got to do more. And by trying to do more, he's actually doing a lot less. And that's part of the problem. When Mathew Barzal is playing well, his skating and his speed create scoring opportunities, whether it's for himself or whether it's for another teammate. When he's not doing well, his skating either leads to nowhere and he eventually just loses the puck, or he'll turn the puck over and it'll lead to a scoring opportunity the other way. And, in Barzy's defense, because he is more of a setup guy than a shooter, but in Barzy's defense, he has made some good passes that, his teammates just haven't been able to connect on. But, boy, oh boy, you look at the way this team is playing right now. They need to be smarter. They need to be more consistent. They need to be better. And when you're flailing like this, when you're struggling, you need to get back to basics. So put the puck on the net, go for those rebounds, screen the goalie, go for the deflections, make the simple play. Don't try to make the perfect play, because you know what? The perfect play rarely happens because nobody is perfect all that often. So Mathew Barzal, Bo Horvat, these guys need all four lines, but especially the top line needs to keep it simple and just get off the schneid with some dirty goals. And memo to Patrick Waugh. I know there are aspects of Simon Holmstrom's game that you really like. But in 10 games, Simon Holmstrom has 2 assists, no goals. He has 5 shots on goal in 10 games, and he's played, 2 or 3 of those games on the top line? That is just not going to get it done. Simon Holmstrom can be a useful hockey player in the NHL, but not on the top line. The Islanders, whether they move Siplikov up to the top line, whether they move Wahlstrom up to the top line, Engvall up to the top line, Cizikas up to the top line, Palmieri. I mean, there are other choices. But Simon Holmstrom, at this stage in his career, and until he proves otherwise, maybe for the rest of his career, is not a top-line player. And if this Islanders team right now was scoring 4 goals a game, I wouldn't care that you're putting Simon Holmstrom on the top line and he's not producing. That wouldn't bother me. What bothers me is you're struggling to score goals and you put a guy who really doesn't belong on the top line, and he's providing very little to no offense, and he's still getting more chances. You got to put an offensive-minded guy. Brock Nelson. Have Bo, Barzy, and Brock be a line, even if it's just for a couple of games to jumpstart the offense a little bit. They did it last year. It worked for a few games. They cooled off. I would take that right now. But Holmstrom isn't the answer, and you want to jumpstart Bo and Barzy, you've got to get somebody who can help them offensively on that top line with them, and it ain't Simon Holmstrom. I would like to see Siplikov, Palmieri, or Brock Nelson moved up to that first line in order to jumpstart Bo and Barzy, because they need the jumpstart. And look, I'm not going to say this is all Mathew Barzal's fault. There's nobody right now on this Islanders team who you could point to who's hot and playing exceptionally well. Brock Nelson and Kyle Palmieri both lead the team with 4 goals scored in 10 games. It's not Brocktober anymore. Happy November 1st. Hope everyone had a safe and happy Halloween. But you got to jumpstart this first line, because since Duclair went out, they've been MIA. All right, more to get to on today's show. We're going to talk about the blue line, what they're not doing, what their shortcomings have been. We'll preview both of this weekend's games tonight in Buffalo, Sunday afternoon in New York against the Rangers in Madison Square Garden, plus for our Islanders birthday of the day. A player who nobody expected to have 3 straight 30-goal seasons for the Islanders in the early 2010s, who was on a top line along with Kyle Oposo and, well, a certain number 91 who will remain nameless. Let's see if you can guess who that is. We've got that and a whole lot more coming up on today's Locked On Islanders podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by your friends at Game Time. Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets for your favorite live events even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. My favorite feature on the Game Time app remains the view from your seat. You go on the app and you can get a panoramic view from your seat before you purchase the tickets, so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Just download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. So we talked about the top line and their struggles, and Bo and Barzy, and, well, pretty much most of the fourth line, most of this team right now, offensively, struggling. But what about the blue line? The blue line is hurting. Offensively, they have scored 1 goal in 10 games. And you know who has that 1 goal? Dennis Cholowski, who's only played in 3 games. Noah Dobson, 32 shots on goal in 10 games, no goals. Adam Pelech, 20 shots, no goals. Ryan Pulock, 15, no goals. Mike Reilly, 15 shots on goal, nothing in the net. Alexander Romanov, 10 shots in 7 games. He's missed 3 due to injury, hasn't scored yet. Scott Mayfield, 7 shots on goal in 10 games. No goals. 2 shots on goal in 3 games for Cholowski. He's got the only goal by an Islanders defenseman so far this year. And let's face another fact. The defense is not only not scoring, which again is not their primary job, but they're not successfully doing 2 things that are their job. Their defense has been inconsistent, especially Noah Dobson, as we've mentioned. And they're not doing a good job of transitioning from defense to offense. Noah Dobson is a good skater, and he can be a good passer, but he has not been good for most of his career. If you said, besides his defensive zone coverage, what does he need to work on? One of the things he needs to work on is transition from defense to offense, getting the puck out of the zone and allowing the Islanders to go on the attack as a result of the play he just made. He doesn't do that very well. It hurts on the power play, which, again, as we mentioned, 29th in the league. And it hurts offensively because you end up being stuck in your own zone. Mike Reilly also struggling at skating with the puck as compared to last year. For whatever reason, Reilly was doing a better job last season after the Islanders acquired him at skating the puck into the neutral zone and helping the Islanders build up speed and go forward. He did a much better job of that last year than he is this year. And I'm confident Mike Reilly can sort of get that straightened out. He's not playing terribly, even though he has no points in 10 games. He's a +1, which is more than you could say about a lot of Islanders. In fact, he and Maxim Siplikov are the only 2 Islanders who are plus this season. Hard to believe, or not, after 10 games. You need a little more offense. Adam Pelech, Ryan Pulock have not gotten back to their past defensive form. And offensively, okay, Pelech has 4 assists. Not going to take that away. Pulock has 3. But offensively, they're not providing a lot. And, we're not seeing the defenseman jumping up into the play or being a trailer when the Islanders are breaking into the zone. We're not seeing them make pretty passes. It just hasn't been a productive first 10 games for the defense. And again, I'm not just blaming Noah Dobson. I'm not blaming any one guy. I'm not saying, I'm not pointing a finger at any one player. This is a team-wide problem. And, while I understand Patrick Roy after game saying, oh, yeah, I think we played well, we just didn't finish, and I'm pleased with the effort. I understand he's going to back his guys, okay? He is almost never going to come out and say, you know what, we really stunk today, and I think this team is not going anywhere because we're terrible. He's not going to say that. He may find another way to sort of challenge the team, but as of right now, he's not going to throw them under the bus. But in almost every aspect of the game right now, this team needs to be better. And 1 goal from all 7 of your defensemen through 10 games, not going to cut it. No 5-on-5 points from your top line player, not going to cut it. No goals from your 4th line, period, in 10 games. Not good enough. This team is struggling top to bottom, with the possible exception of Nelson, Siplikov, and Palmieri. This team offensively is struggling, and, there is no excuse for Ilya Sorokin to have a 2-2-1 record when he has a 1.80 goals against average and a .932 save percentage. He should be 4-0-1, 4-1-0, 3-1-1 at the least. This team needs to wake up. They need to simplify. They need to be stronger. They need to be smarter. And they need to go to the net and get those ugly goals. Because the pretty goals, maybe they'll come when they get a little confidence back. But to get the confidence back, you got to put in the effort. And right now, we need to see that effort from this team. All right, we've got more to get to. Busy weekend ahead. Game tonight in Buffalo, Sunday afternoon at Madison Square Garden. We're going to preview both games. We'll do that. We'll have our Islanders birthday of the day and a lot more coming up on today's Locked On Islanders podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by your friends at FanDuel. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you could check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com to get started. FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the National Football League. Thank you for making Locked On Islanders your first listen today. For your second listen, find Locked On Fantasy Hockey. Become a fantasy hockey expert and get the edge over your league mates with daily tips from Steal and Flip. Find Locked On Fantasy Hockey on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. It's part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. 2 games this weekend. We get started tonight. Islanders visiting the Buffalo Sabres. The Sabres, again, sort of an uneven team, much like the Islanders. They're 4-5-1 through their first 10 games. They last lost to the Florida Panthers. They are well rested. Last played on October 28th. So, they are well rested. They won 3 games in a row before losing at home to Florida. So we'll see where they come out. Here is the thing right now. We mentioned how bad the Islanders' power play has been. Buffalo has the worst power play right now in the National Hockey League. 6.9%. That's dead last. If the Islanders' PK can't step up now, you're going to run out of explanations. The penalty kill, not much better for Buffalo. 23rd in the league, 74.2% effectiveness. So again, let's see if the Islanders can get their special teams on track against the struggling Sabres special teams. But guess what? I am sure the Sabres fans and coaches and the Locked On Sabres host is saying the same thing. Hey, the Sabres power play can get well against the really bad Islanders penalty kill. We got to see who wins that special teams battle. For goals, they're in the middle of the pack at 15th. Goals against, though, are more of an issue, 24th. The goalies are Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen and Devon Levy. I expect Luukkonen to get the start mainly because they are so well rested, having not played for 3 days off after that last game. Tage Thompson remains their best offensive weapon, 7 goals in 10 games, 12 points in 10 games. Alex Tuch with 9 points. J.J. Paterka with 4 goals, 8 points. Owen Power with 8 points as well. And Ryan McLeod has 4 goals and only 1 assist. The line combinations, Thompson, Paterka, and Tuck are the top line. Dylan Cousins centers. Nicholas Aube-Kubel and Jack Quinn on the second line. Ryan McLeod, Jordan Greenway, and Jason Zucker are the third line. And then from left to right on the fourth line, Beck Mallenstein, Peyton Krebs, and Sam Lafferty. Rasmus Dahlin and Henri Jokiharju are the top defensive pair. Owen Power and Bowen Byram, the second pair. Matthias Samuelsson and Connor Clifton are the third pair. And then, as we mentioned, Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen and Devon Levy are the goalies. Zach Benson right now listed as day-to-day, but we'll see if he is ready to come back again after the Sabres have been well-rested. Sabres got some speed. Islanders have to keep up, and boy, do they need to try to take advantage of a defense that is in the bottom quarter of the league. Got to take advantage. Let's hope the Islanders can. That game against Buffalo, by the way, 7 o'clock Eastern time start tonight. Then the Islanders head back home, but not exactly home. They'll be at Madison Square Garden for a Sunday matinee, a 1 o'clock start against the New York Rangers. The Rangers are also playing on Friday night. They're hosting the Ottawa Senators. They've lost 2 of their last 3, losing to the Panthers and Capitals while edging the Anaheim Ducks 2-1 in between that. That being said, Rangers are 6-2-1 through their first 9 games. You want to hear a team that's going to be formidable to play. Rangers are 8th in goals scored in the league, 3rd in goals against. Their power play is 6th with a 25.9% success rate. The penalty kill is 3rd, 89.7. Your goalies are Igor Shesterkin and Jonathan Quick, and then Artemi Panarin. 15 points in 9 games, 6 goals, 9 assists. Keep in mind the entire Islanders team has scored 21 goals in 10 games. Artemi Panarin has been involved in 15. The whole Islanders team in only 6 more. And yeah, the Islanders have played an extra game. We know all these names. Alex Lafreniere, 4 goals, 8 points. Adam Fox, one of the better offensive defensemen in the game, 8 assists in 9 games. Philip Cheadle has 4 goals. Chris Kreider has 6, but he has yet to have an assist. You look at the line combinations for the Rangers, Vincent Trocheck, Artemi Panarin, and Alex Lafreniere, the top trio. Mika Zibanejad, Chris Kreider, and Reilly Smith are the second line. Cheadle, Will Coyle, Capo Caco, that's the third line. Sam Carrick, Adam Edstrom, and Matt Rempe are the fourth line. Keandre Miller and Adam Fox, a very skilled top pair. Ryan Lindgren and Jacob Trouba are the second pair. Victor Mancini and Braden Schneider are the third defensive duo. And again, Shesterkin and Quick are the goalies. Jimmy Vesey is out right now with an injury. Islanders, they're going to need to bring their A game. We know matinees have traditionally been a struggle for this Islanders team, but when you're facing your biggest rival in the Rangers at Madison Square Garden, a hostile crowd, if you're not up for this game, if the Islanders come out flat, I don't know what would wake them up. It is time. It is time for the New York Islanders. They've got to win one of these 2 games, and they have got to play well in both, even if they don't win. It is time to show that this team is better than the way they've performed so far this year. And I think they are, but they're not a great team. At best, they're still in the muddy middle. Time now for our Islanders birthday of the day, and today is the 41st birthday of former Islanders winger Matt Moulson, a 9th-round pick of the Penguins back in 2003, the North York, Ontario native, 6'1", 203, spent 4 years at Cornell playing hockey there, made his NHL debut with the LA Kings in 07-08, but didn't become a full-time NHLer until he joined the Islanders for the 09 2009-2010 season. Put back 3 straight 30-plus goal seasons for the Islanders in his first 3 years with the team. Then fell off to 44 points in 47 games, 15 goals. In 2012-2013, was traded early in the 13-14 season, played for Buffalo, Minnesota, and then, kind of finished his career in the AHL after the 2021-2022 season. 650 career NHL games for Matt Moulson, 176 goals, 369 points, 122 penalty minutes, 3 goals, 6 points, and 16 penalty minutes. 6 of those with 2 goals and an assist coming with the Islanders in 2013. His best years clearly with the Isles. One of his best games, February 21st, 2011 at the Nassau Coliseum. Islanders hosting the Panthers. The goalies in this one, Tomas Vokoun for Florida, Il Cubano, Al Montoya for the Islanders. Matt Moulson gets things started. His 24th goal of the year midway through the first period. John Tavares, Travis Hamonic with the assist. Then, in the last 5:02 of the period, it's Matt Moulson again, his 25th goal of the year. P.A. Parenteau and Travis Hamonic with the helpers. Islanders go up 4-0 after 2 periods. A goal by Mike Santorelli of Florida makes it 4-1, and then Matty Ice, Matt Moulson, an empty net goal to seal the win and give the Islanders, give him the hat trick. Jack Hillen and Zenon Konopka get the assist for Matt Moulson in this game. He had 3 goals on 5 shots. He scored the game winner, and he was a +3. The 5 shots, well, Michael Grabner was ahead of him with 7. Montoya made 20 saves to earn the win, but Matt Moulson, a popular, hardworking winger, he is our Islanders' birthday of the day. I want to thank everyone for making Locked On Islanders your first listen every day. We're back on Monday when we will have our key takeaways from both of this weekend's game, including the first meeting with the Rangers, obviously a big one. Hopefully some better news coming out of it. Again, if you want to ask us a question, you have a comment, a topic you'd like us to discuss on a future episode, email us at lockedonislanders@gmail.com. And if you leave your first name and where you're from, we're happy to mention you on the show when we discuss whatever's on your mind. You can follow the show on X at Locked On Isles, and you can follow me, Gil Martin, on X at Ice Wars, NYR, VSNYI. We'll keep you up to date on all things Islanders all year long, and I'm live tweeting during almost every Islanders home and road game. So join me for some instant insight and analysis. Have a great weekend, everybody. Stay safe, and of course, let's go Islanders.